Hello and welcome back to Retopology Masters. This video will show you how I can combine two styles of modeling to the previously shown ones. I will start with freeform modeling and then we'll transition into Boolean modeling. I'd like to thank Autodesk for sponsoring this series of videos, helping produce more great content for you guys. Alright, let's get started. So, freeform modeling is pretty much, I'm going to create a plane, one of my favorite styles of modeling, and I will just right click here to start with the most basic plane. We can press G to turn off the grid. Then add a poly, then symmetry, turbo smooth, and iceline display, and here we go. So pretty much what I can do, let's model from the left side. So I'm going to select this, move this to 0, and let's flip that here. Alright, so I can just begin to insert loops, move things around. So you never quite know where you will go with this from a modeling. Sometimes I like to just apply on top of symmetry and then reapply symmetry. Just so we establish both sides, and we can insert loops all the way through or move them simultaneously if necessary. Alright, I'm going to use the smoothing group method here. So what I'm going to do is just to clear all the smoothing groups, and then I will start establishing some basic ones here. Just so we can start to establish some sharp parts. There we go. Then we can further modify this. And just kind of set up the shape that we want. Sometimes before smoothing groups, I'll just insert a quick loop just to see what this looks like. So as you can see, we've got very simple meshes here. Got a very simple mesh, but looks nice and clean here because we're using smoothing groups. You can see here, I'm kind of skipping this part of the mesh because with freeform modeling, one of the benefits is that you can just kind of freeform your design and kind of skip parts until you're ready to fill it in, for example. So I can even keep on extruding this and then fill it in later. Now, let's say, for example, I want to attach to something else. Well, I can do that now and later just fill it in. So then what I would do is just apply on top of symmetry, go into the border level, select this, and then Alt-P, default hotkey to cap this. Now, it looks a little bit messy here, so we need to just connect at least a few vertices, at least to fix some of the major issues. So when you connect these vertices, you're establishing some polygons which you can then work with. For example, now I can select this. Because I now have an edge here, I can select this and give this, for example, a separate smoothing group. And so now you can see we have this sharpness happening here. And actually we can give this a separate smoothing group as well. Now we've got this happening here. Or we can, for example, give this a separate smoothing group. Now we've got this happening here, so you can see we're establishing the parts where I want there to be sharpness. All right, now for example, if I'm ready, I can fill this area in. So what I would do here is bridge these two edges, border, cap this, and then simply connect the vertices, as well as cutting with snap on. Pressing S to activate snaps, right clicking here, making sure it's set to vertex, and then we can just kind of make sense of this. Set up the splitting groups. So this is 8, so this will also be 8. And then this is 7, so we'll make these 7 as well. So that's kind of a demonstration of how you can work with splitting groups and get this kind of freeform modeling, keeping things as simple as possible, and then connecting when necessary. Sometimes we can use set flow just to get a better result here. All right, so this was the freeform section. Just doing some nice freeform modeling here. For example, I'm not quite liking this yet because I think there needs to be more of a transition here. So for example, what if I move this up? Or there needs to be more of a separation here. Right now, there's just not enough of a difference here. So we can move this lower or move this higher, for example. Try moving it lower here. Move around a few vertices here. When the 3ds Max remembers your last movement, so for example, if I hover over the z-axis and move it, I can then simply just left click on the vertex and it will automatically start moving on the z-axis because it remembers that. So we don't have to left click on the vertex and then left click on the gizmo. We can simply left click on a vertex and start moving it. All right, as you can see, things are very simple here. It's very easy to add further detail and we've got this shape. All right, now I'm going to just turn off the Iceland display. All right, now let's transition over to Booleans. Let's use some Booleans to cut this apart. So I'm going to press F3 to go into wireframe mode, and I can go into here and then create a line. I've got that set to Shift 1. So I'm going to start creating a line right here. I can press 1 right away to go into the Modify panel and then go into Vertex. Select this and F. That's my hotkey for fillet, and so now I can start to fillet this out like so. All right, so what I'm going to do is just move this down, and I'm going to apply extrude on this. That's going to give me this. And what I can do, for example, is just... All right, now I can pro Boolean this, and I'm going to subtract this. You can see right now, this is not a volume, but it's okay because in this situation, let's say I'm not dealing with a volume. No one's going to see the underside, for example, so I'm not even going to model it in. So I just want to kind of split it off from the top. Now I'm going to press Ctrl V to copy this. I'm going to switch this to an intersection and then change operation. Now we have this piece and this piece. All right, and I'm going to make this darker for us to be able to differentiate it. All right, there we go. We can also just apply symmetry here as well. There we go. But once we're going to retopologize, we'll of course turn it off. This is just for visual purposes. So we start off with a freeform mesh, use smoothing groups to establish the nice sharpness here. Now we can use splines or geometry meshes to cut this away. Also, what I like to do here is go into Pro Boolean, Advanced Options, and have no edge removal. So we have the full topology. If you have remove all, it's going to remove things that are just too flat here. So for example, since it's flat, it's going to try and remove that. All right, let's press F3, and this time I'll create maybe a circle. I'm going to sure that's centered. All right, so now I'm just going to find a good position for it. All right, let's try right here. All right, I'm going to go into interpolation and increase this because you can see right now, from far away it looks fine, but close up you can see it's very angular here. So for the retopology, we're going to make sure that's higher. And once again, we're going to extrude that. This time, since it's a closed spline, it's going to give us a volumetric shape here. Previously, we're just using a basic non-closed spline, which just gave us pretty much a wall. All right, I will select this and we will remove that. Once again, Control V, and we're going to switch this to an intersection. All right, let's give this a third color. Let's give this a nice red. All right, so you can see how we're just going to take this mesh apart. We can then, for example, animate different parts rising or falling. So let's set up some sort of animations here. All right, I'm going to fillet that. I'm going to spline mirror, make sure it's at 0. I've got this, and let's maybe give this a little bit of fillet as well. All right, so there we go. We've used splines. Let's use at least one geometry one as well. So I'm going to create, let's say, a box here. All right, so there we go. We're able to start with freeform modeling and then transition it using booleans. And we've got this nice mesh. So let's say, for example, we want to create some sort of fancy object that's going to fall apart here. It's going to have different panels that open up. That's why I'm not worried about volume here in this situation. And if I didn't want volume, what I would do beforehand, I would just show you, I'll just select this. I can just go into Pro Boolean, select the original object here, and then just extract selected as a copy. So here's our original object. So if I was worried about the volume, all I would need to do here is just go into here and then go into edge here. And actually, let's go into the poly on top of that. And so then I would just, for example, deselect the center edges here and bridge this. And then insert a loop through here and then just weld that. Target weld, making sure it's closed up. And I will go into here as well and then Alt P to cap this as well. All right, to quickly check that this is a volume airtight, you simply go into border, make a selection around your entire mesh. If nothing is selected, that means you have an airtight mesh. So if I didn't want to have volume, this is what I'll do beforehand. And for example, if I just, let me just make a cut here and then delete this. All right, sometimes it's hard to tell because if this vertex is, let's say right here, your mesh looks airtight, looks like a volume, but if you go into border, make a selection, notice something is selected, you press Z to zoom in on that, it's going to let you know, okay, this is not welded. You need to actually weld this. There we go. So this is what I would do if I actually want to have a volume here. But in this situation, I just want these panel lines to open up. Let's say this is like a hollow object and I just want these kind of panel lines. Well, now use a combination of freeform modeling and booleans, both spline booleans as well as geometric booleans to get this mesh that's ready for a nice retopology. So I'm going to delete symmetry beforehand just to make the process go faster and then retopology here. So I think 5,000 may be too much. Let's go for maybe 100. The only problem here is that it will simplify this as well here, which means in this situation, let's go for a higher value. Maybe 500. Sometimes I just need to see what is a good value here. All right. As you notice, sometimes the results are a little bit off here. So what I would do is go for a higher value. Now I'll just apply a quick smooth on top. And this time I'll go for, let's say, 500, and it'll give me a better result. Notice how now we get much more consistent topology here. You can definitely see the difference right here, for example. There we go. All right, and now we have these retopologized panels ready to be animated or whatever else we want to do with it. We can add further detail here as well. We can take advantage of both freeform modeling, retopology, Boolean with splines, Boolean with geometry, and then add some freeform modeling on top of that for some nice extra detailing. So here we were able to use freeform modeling, then Boolean things apart, then do a little bit more freeform modeling to add for the detail. Thank you for watching and take care.